Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to December 2024 here on the Be Our Guest podcast. Hope you are ready to close out 2024 on a high note, and we're going to help you do that with a fun show. We're headed down to Atlanta, Georgia today with listener John to talk about a fun trip that just kind of snowballed. It built, and it was actually just a quick weekend escape down to Walt Disney World, and they had a good time. He took some first timers to Walt Disney World, met up with some friends that live in Florida, annual pass holders, friends from other places. And the first day, it was all about the resorts. They did resort hopping. They did a monorail crawl. They went to Trader Sam's, and they had a first timer with them. So you get a first timer's perspective on what it's like to visit Trader Sam's at the Polynesian, what it's like to get on the monorail, what it's like to ride the Skyliner over to the Riv. And then day 2, strap in. 4 parks, 1 day, lightning lane palooza, lots of snacks, lots of great meals, fireworks, in everything. They went hard. And hot take, this first timer, he did not like living with the land. I know, don't email me about that. That was Brett, so it was not Mike. But we have that discussion. So lots of fun. We're going on a trip today, so come right along with us. Don't forget, our podcast always brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Disney adventure. Here's the best part. No additional cost to you, and it supports our show. So please work with us on your next trip. It's over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link. It's one extra click that supports everything we do here on the show. beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you so very much to our Patreon supporters. You guys are our all-stars. You make this show happen. We could not do this without you. You can be one of those folks as well. It's just $5 a month. It's like a cup of coffee a month. And for that support, we give you a bonus show every week called Mike in the Midwest. Come on over. We'd love to have you this week. Patreon.com/BeOurGuestPod.
Ready to take a trip to the world? You found the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. This is where your memories come front and center on our podcast stage.
Welcome to episode 2600 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman, from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you, and welcome to the first show of December 2024 at episode 2600 of the show. Holy cow, who would have thought? And if you're my age, let's call this the Atari show. That was the OG video game system. I mean, speaking of, it's December, we're a few weeks out to Christmas. If you're of my vintage, there was nothing, I mean nothing, you wanted Santa to throw under that Christmas tree when you were a kid than an Atari 2600 and a Space Invaders cartridge. I mean, if you got that, see, all the younger folks, and there's a lot of our listeners now that are younger saying, oh, that's so retro. That's so cool. I got the emulator. No, some of us were there when that was new. And I remember when I got the Parker Brothers Frogger cartridge. Oh, man, I was the coolest kid on the street for a while. But anyway, episode 2600. Thanks for letting us get here. We are going to talk some Disney and have a great time. We're headed down to one of the greatest cities in the United States, Atlanta, Georgia, with our friend John. John, happy Monday. What's going on?
Happy Monday, Mike. Not much, brother. Just talking to you about some Disney stuff tonight, I guess.
All right, before we get into it, I mean, I brought up the video game stuff. Are you any kind of a gamer? I mean, anything there?
I have a very good friend of mine who is actually integral to the trip that we're going to be talking about that is huge on games. So through him, I kind of live vicariously. I love first-person story-based games. So, like, my favorite games to come out in the past 5 years have been the Spider-Man games on the PlayStation. I love games that allow me to kind of just dwell into that and kind of become the character in that way. But my dad, I'll never forget, and I think it actually was for Christmas one year, got me a Game Boy Advance. And it wasn't the Advance SP that had the backlit screen. It was a Game Boy Advance where like he had bought me a clip-on light to go on
Yes.
that thing. And I was playing a lot of like Dig Dug and Galaga and stuff like that on that. I don't know what year this was. That might have been like 2000. I don't even know. Probably like 2002, 2003, somewhere in that vicinity. I'm 29. So,
You're
yeah,
making me
I don't know.
You're making me feel old, man. You're making me feel old because my daughter's 27. But yeah, so, but Galaga, I have a Pac-Man / Galaga stand-up console here in the basement, and it's awesome.
Oh, that's
Like,
killer.
you know,
Yeah, that's rad.
because it's my wife's favorite video game is Galaga. She can smoke me on that, but I can take her
Yeah.
on Pac-Man, so it's all good. But yeah, so it's not we're not but hey, it is the holidays, and for a lot of us, video games. I wish I had the time now. If I didn't have a podcast of 5 shows a week, I might have time to play video games. But I haven't really got into it since the Wii. The last big system was the Wii in 2000s. I think it came out like about 18. It came out right before the podcast started, and I think I still need rotator cuff surgery because I bowled so much on that system. I had to just keep bowling because you got that. If you bowled well enough, you got like the special bowling ball. But if you fell below like 200 average, then your special bowling ball went away. And so then I'd have to go take ibuprofen so I could keep bowling without pain to get my average back to 200. There were times my wife would get up at like 3:15 in the morning, like, you're still bowling? I'm like, I got like a 198. I got to get my ball back. It was terrible.
Yeah, you do. Those things are important, especially on the Wii. You gotta, I mean,
I could tell stories about that because we had tournaments, and one of my birthday parties, we had a trophy for the whole family, a whole big tournament. We had seated people for it was a thing. Anyway, so let's talk Disney. Give me your backstory. Why are you a Disney fan? We're hanging out here on a Monday talking Disney. How did it all start for you?
Man, that's a really good question, actually. I think that a lot of my love for Disney came from movies, and I know that just from listening, I know that you're not as big on the movies, which is funny. So I think that as a kid, I watched a ton of Disney movies. My dad would take my sister and I on weekends to go watch movies a lot. So I have fond memories of going to see things like Monsters Inc., Incredibles, a lot of the earlier Pixar stuff. Wore out Toy Story on VHS, wore out Tarzan on VHS. Even a lot of the princess movies, like I would watch a lot of the classics like Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, a lot of those things. And I didn't get to Disney World for the first time until I was probably, I think I was 7. And we went at Halloween, like around Halloween. And my mom took my sister and I with her parents, my grandparents. And that was my first Disney trip. And at the time, gosh, what was that landscape like? That would have been, I guess, like 2002, 2003, somewhere in there. So the alien, what was that alien ride in Magic Kingdom called? My gosh,
extraterrestrial
alien encounter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That had just become like Stitch's Great Escape. So did that, the chili dog burp, all that stuff. I remember it quite vividly. We didn't do Epcot that trip. And I remember my mom explaining to me that Epcot was more geared towards adults and that I wouldn't like Epcot as much as the other parks. So we went to Magic Kingdom and MGM Studios and Animal Kingdom. And I guess that's probably where it started. I didn't get back to Disney until probably 4 or 5 years after that. I was maybe like 10. Maybe it was only a few years, actually. Maybe I was probably like 10 years old. And then there was a giant gap between when I went that trip and then the next time I went, which was actually in 2015. I had a friend of mine, it was my freshman year of college. I had a buddy of mine text me and he was like, hey, my dad scored like these crazy discounted tickets from being a veteran. And we're all like, my sister and I are able to bring friends, whatever. So if you want to go, you can go with us for the week. And I was like, okay. And he had, it was a park hopper ticket for 5 days for Disney and another one for Universal. So we went for the whole week and just got to do literally whatever we wanted. It was super fun. So I think that probably reignited my love for the parks themselves. And then after that, my wife and I went on our honeymoon to Disney. We've done both baby moons at Disney, and yeah, I don't know. I just I fell in love with it that way. So
That's cool backstory. I mean, because you got, gradually kind of morphing into different kinds of trips, different, people you went with and so forth. Now I am noticing, because most of our audience is going to listen to this on the audio feed, on the podcast feed, but we do record these video, and you can check out all the video always at youtube.com/BRGuestPodcast. You have a rack of guitars behind you there in your studio as we're recording. How important do you, because you obviously the movies are essential to you, and you get to kind of experience the movies, you go to the parks, the stories there, but tell us, because I would imagine the music is a big part of the experience for you as well. I mean, it could be the actual songs from the movies, but to me, one of the essential parts of a theme park vacation, Epcot especially, but even the Magic Kingdom, Studios, Animal Kingdom, Disneyland even, is walking through a land and hearing the background loops. What about you? Do you feel the same?
yeah, certainly. I have a YouTube channel as well. It's called Sydney Park Rangers, and I did a whole video about this thing. Basically just talking about how integral sound is to the movies, and then looping that back into the parks, and how all of that stuff is so important at just digging at that nostalgia bone a little bit for the fans that have been around a little while and lived through some of that golden age of animation and all of that stuff. And I don't know, like I often I see memes about it's stuff about like Phil Collins' Tarzan soundtrack, and it'll be stuff like, hey, he didn't have to do all that, but he did that for us because he loved what he was doing at the time. And then another sleeper one is like for Brother Bear. He did another one for Brother Bear that's just as good. But then you have, like incredible composers like Hans Zimmer that did the Lion King soundtrack, and even like Randy Newman with Toy Story. Yeah, like all that is very, very important to me. And I think when you walk around the parks, like you said, it just kind of, it's that extra layer that's a little bit subconscious because you're just listening to it amongst all of the other chitter chatter and ride noises and whatever else, cast members talking about whatever they're talking about, announcers giving announcements, things are going on, parades, whatever. I mean, yeah, even like parade music, right? Like all that stuff, like the fireworks show, all of that is so crazy integral to the overall experience, but it adds a ton. I mean, yeah.
No, I agree with you. I mean,
important.
because just a week and a half ago, they had the launch of the Disney Treasure, right? Up in New York City, they had the christening, and they took a piece of the score from Harmonious when they showed the Coco part of the drone show is a part of that, and instantly the internet went wild because there were a lot of people that loved that show. I know in our Discord channel over at the Clubhouse, people are like, "Oh, I miss Harmonious," and that was one of those things that I think it was a victim of the time. Enchantment, the fireworks show at the Magic Kingdom, kind of the same thing. Just that I think stuff that debuted during COVID just left everybody with a sour taste in their mouth, right? Because we had to wear masks, and you had to have the social distancing, and just people were not, you were required to do things that were weird for being in a theme park. And I think because of that, like you say, subconsciously, Harmonious was the fireworks show where we had to stand all apart, and it wasn't how our normal vacations were. So maybe that, and of course it replaced Illuminations for me, which was my favorite. Speaking of music, that's my favorite piece of music with Tapestry of Nations, that whole soundtrack, that, like you said, like Parade, Spectral Magic, Main Street Electrical Parade, give me that stuff. And I'm just like, I'm in heaven. And I hope they score this new parade that's going to come out this summer at the Magic Kingdom. I have high hopes for that because, like you said, we don't get to go on our Disney vacations as often as we'd like. 51 weeks out of the year, most of us were back home. If we're lucky, we get to go 1 week out of the year to a Disney place.
Yeah, that's right.
You could take the soundtrack with you the other 51, weeks and listen to it on your walks or in your office and relive all those memories with a good soundtrack.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. I especially around this time of year, I was able to get down there for the first time at Christmas time this time last year, and they had Main Street kind of decked out with some of the Disney's Christmas Carol stuff, and that soundtrack, like the music that's in that movie, which is well, I say movie, I guess it technically is a movie, but it's only like 45 minutes or something like that, and the music that's in that is just incredibly nostalgic for me. And I listen to it a lot this time of year. It's one of my favorite pieces of Christmas music ever. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. I especially with the parades and stuff. Yeah, I have high hopes for that parade as well. It'll be cool to get something like that back.
Yeah, just to have another parade. I mean, it's like been too
Yeah.
long in the Magic Kingdom. Yeah, we don't need the $10 billion rides. To me, again, I think it's because I'm getting older. I Cosmic Rewind, I know it's an amazing attraction, but I mean, I think you got to balance it out, e-ticket attractions with also things like parades and, omnimovers. Like it's got to be a diversity of experiences. It can't
Yeah.
just be e-ticket, e-ticket, e-ticket because you can't do them that often, but you can do
Right.
many smaller things that are going to, get exposed to everybody. But that's just get off my soapbox here. So let's talk about your trip though. That's why you're here. So you went down for a weekend this past spring. And I think it's cool because we've had kind of a potpourri of kind of different trips. We had a guest on a couple weeks back where he went on a solo trip that ended up not being solo. He met a bunch of Disney friends. He was just there for a brief time as well. And I think it's kind of fun to get these in here on Mondays when we can, because a lot of times we have trip reports where folks are there 7 days, 10 days, and those are kind of your typical vacations, longer vacations. But, maybe you catch a great deal on Southwest. I know every Wednesday I get a push alert like, hey, it's window seat Wednesday or, want to get away Wednesday. And, it's like a crazy deal, and if you could fly down on a Friday, come back on a Sunday night and, catch an all-star or something. I mean, you could have a good time. So how did this trip come together? We're going to talk about.
Yeah. So long story short, my wife found out that she was pregnant in February, and I was like, well, okay, we did our first baby moon at Disney, and the first one that we had was in the middle of the pandemic. So I experienced all of that madness with the masks and everything, and it was a kind of a while all that stuff was weird, the crowd volume was so low that
True.
it almost didn't matter. You know what I mean? It was
Yep.
kind of one of those deals where it was like, all right, like some of this stuff is a little strange, but at the same time, we can still enjoy ourselves pretty well here. And yeah, but this time around, I was like, okay, baby number two. I was like, what do you want to do, babe? You want to go back to Disney? Like, do you want to do that again? And she was like, yeah, that sounds like fun. Let's do that. We enjoy it. So we went down, and maybe about a month before the trip, I had a very good friend of mine, one of my best friends, who he had just moved away from where we live in Atlanta up to Nashville. And he texted me, he was like, hey, the wife and I are going to be in town this weekend. What are you guys up to? And I looked at the calendar and I was like, of course, it's the weekend that we're going to Disney. And I was like, well, we're actually going to Disney. What are you guys coming down to do? And he was like, we're actually just in town for his wife's sister's baby shower. And he wasn't invited because it was a ladies only deal.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, you want to go to Disney with us instead? And he was like, yeah, that sounds way better
he
than
won.
just sitting. Yeah. He was like, that sounds way better. I was like, when's the last time you went? He was like, I was probably 5. And I was like, cool. So I get to take you on your first real Disney trip. That's awesome. And it was a quick turnaround, only one park day. And a friend of his that he grew up with, the job that he had at the time, who became an adjacent friend of mine over the years. I won't rabbit trail too far into that, but essentially this other guy who's a mutual friend of ours, one of our best friends, he was an annual pass holder down there. And his job required him to travel all the time. And I was like, hey man, do you want to show up and just, surprise him and just be on the trip with us, like while we're down there? And he was like, yeah, like, let's do that for sure. And I have a buddy of mine that lives in Orlando that's also an annual pass holder. So we kind of had a little group get together, which was super fun. But yeah, my wife and I just did an Airbnb. We found an Airbnb at like a cottage in Kissimmee that was like, I think it was like $350 for 3 nights or something like that. Like couldn't beat it. One of those things, just like you had to drive a little bit, but just a really solid deal. And it already had a spare room, so it just made sense. I was like, yeah, just take the other room, dude. Like, just no big deal. And we'll get to walk around Disney and have some fun. And yeah, I kind of laid out the trip. We had a game plan. We were like, we're gonna go resort hop the first day and just keep it real low key, just eat some food at some places, and you can kind of see the property a little bit. And then the second day, we're gonna hit the parks super hard. And we had a game plan. We rope dropped in Animal Kingdom. We closed down Magic Kingdom, and we went to all 4 parks in one day.
So first of all, you got buy-in from everybody, which is good. I mean, that you got everybody to be like, hey, let's do this. I mean, because a lot of people, that's tough nowadays. You know, people have commitments, but hey, everybody said, let's do. But I mean, going to Walt Disney World, I mean, it's pretty tempting. So that's
Yeah,
that's a it's a hard thing to turn down. So well, let's dive into this. So you're down there, everybody's kind of meet up here. Resorts kind of the focus day 1, parks day 2. So tell us about how you went about day 1 seeing the Walt Disney World resorts.
yeah, sure. So we had kind of a thought that we were going to go eat at Olivia's in the morning. That was a recommendation by my buddy that lives down there. It's like one of his favorite places to do breakfast.
My favorite, yes.
Yeah. So, long story short, we didn't end up getting to do it because we had posted on our story. Someone had posted on their story that we were in Disney Springs, like the night that we got in, the night that we drove in. And a couple of friends of mine from film school, texted me. I hadn't seen either of them in like 2 years or more. And they were like, "Are you in Disney World right now?" And I was like, "Yeah, are you?" And he was like, "Yeah. You want to meet us for breakfast? We're going to, I don't even remember the name of the restaurant. It's one of the nicer ones at the Polynesian. We went there for breakfast.
Was it Kona Cafe?
Yeah, Kona Cafe.
That's a solid one too. That's my top 5. Here you go. So you're doing all right.
Yeah. It was solid. It was crazy that they were like, I don't know if they're going to be able to get us a reservation or whatever. And we're like, we're in Kissimmee, so we're just driving over there trying to figure it all out. And at this point, our mutual friend had not met up with us yet. My buddy that rode down with us on the trip didn't know that he was coming or anything yet. But all that to say, we got there, we got to see them. It was great catching up with them. And then we just did the monorail circuit with them for a couple hours until they had to fly out. So that was awesome. It was like, it ended up being this crazy thing where, I already had like some friends that we were going with, and I was already pumped about that. And then when we got there, it was like, hey, let's meet up with some of your best friends from college that you haven't seen in a couple years. So it was great. We ended up doing, we started at Polynesian. We went to Grand Floridian, went to the Contemporary, and then circled back to the Polynesian, which is where our buddy Robert met up with us, and surprised my buddy Brett that rode down with my wife and I. And it was great. And he had made us a reservation at Trader Sam's. So we got to go in there and eat the pot stickers and all of that fun stuff. Those pot stickers are to die for, man. I don't know if you've had those or not. They're crazy.
Yep, I've had those, and I think tacos in there, and a So you're living
yeah. All the things. Yeah, it was a ton of fun. We and my buddy again, Brett. I'm just gonna his name's Brett. That just for sake of ease.
Shout out Brett. What's up?
Over and over. Shout out Brett. Brett's just like soaking all of this in. It's fun. It's like I got to take my 1-year-old a couple of years ago, but he's like he's there, but he's not super present because he's 1. But Brett is, a 30-year-old man, and he's getting to soak all this up for the first time and get to really enjoy it. And watching someone get to experience something that I love really effectively for the first time was pretty awesome. And we hadn't even gotten into the parks yet. So we went, I'm trying to think. So we went from Polynesian to from Polynesian at Trader Sam's. Then we went to over to the Riviera and got there's this little bakery in there that's killer.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And we got this I don't know, it was like some sort of chocolate torte dessert and like a cheesecake. And then I don't even remember what we did after that. I think we might have hopped back on the monorail to go over Epcot and just like ride over Epcot, let him see what Epcot's about a little bit. And then we went to Wilderness Lodge and goodness gracious, all the names are escaping me. I'm sorry, Mike. The restaurant in there. Oh my gosh.
Whispering Canyon? Or
we ate it.
Or Geyser Point, the one outside.
That's right. Yeah. Ate at Whispering Canyon for dinner. Super great. And that's kind of how we closed out the first day. Pretty low key. We just got to hang out and catch up and talk and show Brett all these fun places and all the different resorts and stuff. I think the only I'm trying to think. I think we hit most of the big places. It was a good day. That was day one. So.
I mean, that's a great way to kind of hop into it because you get excited. I mean, especially Trader Sam's, because that is such a Disney experience without being in a theme park because it's so themed, right? I mean, you have, a story being told in the environment, but you're also having a meal, or not a meal, but you're having snacks and drinks and so forth at a lounge. Mm-hmm. But also you're getting kind of a ride on the monorail, a pseudo ride. I consider, it's transportation, but I always consider the monorail a ride to me. Did you guys ride the Skyliner when you went over to the Riviera? Did you guys hop on that?
We did. Yeah. We did the Skyliner as well. So he got to experience that. Yeah. It was like,
that's cool. To me, that's another ride. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool.
Yeah. Without a doubt. I agree. It was, it became a running joke after maybe like the third or fourth time that we hopped on. He was like, man, I'm just really loving this monorail, guys. Because it was pretty crowded, and he's a really big dude. Like, he's a personal trainer, so he's like just yoked, and he's just smushed in between all these people, and he's like, yeah, I'm really loving the monorail, guys, really loving it. And I was like, you're gonna learn to love it even more by the end of this trip.
Oh, yeah.
So. Yeah,
that's a good. I mean, good food, good drinks, and good. Let's ease into this because I mean, it's a great way if you have an opportunity to do something like this. Because I know so many people go for the very first time, and it's like full bore right to the Magic Kingdom, right under the train station, boom, Main Street, Castle, Tiers, all happening within 10 minutes. And it's like you're kind of, you're taking those baby steps in where you can appreciate the time. But he doesn't know it. But in a way, this is kind of the best way to go about it. You're drawing it out. You're just like, it's kind of like the analogy I guess I could put this time of year is like if you sprinkle out the Christmas decorations around your house, if you're a Christmas fan, right? Instead of like all in one day, boom, everything's up. It's like, oh, well, it's like you kind of enjoy the whole experience slowly and surely before it all gets there. So, okay, so let's talk about 4 parks in a day though, because I do this one time a year, and it's called the marathon, and it's brutal, but I get a medal for it, and I get a lot of blisters. So what about you? Tell us about how this went, because I have no desire to really do this. I'm too old and cranky.
It was one of those things, especially my wife. We did learn from the previous baby moon that while she's pregnant, not to go that late in the game. So we went earlier in the game. I think she had just started the second trimester when we went, which was kind of the sweet spot because she's kind of over any sort of morning sickness.
God bless her. I can't even do it and I'm trained for a marathon and I can't do it. So God bless your wife. Holy cow.
She loves it just as much as I do. So she had a lot of fun, but it was all right. So I was like, and this is the hazard of going with folks that just have gone a bunch and do enjoy it and all that sort of stuff. For a newbie, we eased them into it knowing this day was next. So it's like, okay, we're about to dive in. So we started the day off at Animal Kingdom. We got there. I think we got there at 7:15, something like that. Rope dropped it, and the whole day, our other friend Robert and myself were buying all of our lightning lanes, like all of the premier lightning lanes, the
individual lightning lanes.
All of them. Not to get into the vernacular can be confusing
because now they're lightning lane single pass or
So we bought like our flight of passage one when we got in, as soon as we were able to. But knowing that Dinosaur was about to be no more, we were like, oh well, he's got to experience Dinosaur, which I I hate this ride.
Oh my
So,
God. You're
so
like Ricky. See, I like Dinosaur. Ricky hates it on our show. So there you go.
yeah, it's so I appreciate it, but I've learned this about myself. I actually learned this as a super young adult at like 19, when I went in 2015. The large animatronic dinosaurs do, do something to my psyche. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I just can't like suspend my disbelief or what it is. I hate those things. They freak me out. So Robert and I, knowing what's coming at the end of this ride on the right side of your tram, we put Brett on the right side. We're like, hey man, you want to sit on the right side? That's the best spot to be.
Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly 90% of the enjoyment of that ride is setting up suckers that have no idea what's coming. You know,
Yeah. So if you look at the picture, man, I wish I should have sent you some of these. If you look at like our ride picture, everyone is just me and Robert are like ducked into our arms, and Brett is like holding Robert, and Brett's again just huge muscular guy, like just completely reared back, like not wanting to be anywhere near this Carnotaurus that's like 6 inches from his face or whatever. And we get off the ride, and he was like, "Hey, that sucked. That was awful. Why did you guys put me on that?" And we were like, "All right, you had to experience the worst one at Animal Kingdom, so now we'll go and experience the best before we dip and get over to Hollywood Studios." So as soon as we finished that, we bolted over to Pandora and got on Flight of Passage. And we get off Flight of Passage, and I look back at him, and I'm like, "Yeah, well, what are you thinking?" And he's like, I promise I'm not embellishing or lying or anything. I'm seeing him like wipe a tear from his eye, and I was like, "Are you good?" And he was like, "That was great." He was like, "That was the most incredible thing I've ever been on."
I just rode a banshee. Give me a minute. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
I got to come back to Earth.
Yeah, he's just like, he was like, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. And I was like, there's like no amount of preparation for that ride that someone can give you. I remember having it hyped up for me before I went on it the first time, and I was like, okay, how good could it be? And my wife and I immediately went back. We had a fast pass for the river journey, and forewent that to get in line for another 2 hours and ride Flight of Passage again. This was on our honeymoon. But yeah, so Flight of Passage went straight over to Hollywood Studios, and the whole time that we're traveling over there, I'm just praying. I'm like, oh man, hope, because he's a huge Star Wars guy. We both have Star Wars tattoos. Like we're like, and yeah. Anyway, big Star Wars guys. So I was like, hopefully Rise of the Resistance is running
For real.
And
I know, seriously, that is a less than 50% chance some days. So I feel your pain. You have one day, you have one shot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And it wasn't, but it's okay. It is what it is. It's one of those things that's like, okay, we can kind of use this to our advantage a little bit. We'll get on Smuggler's Run. He'll still get to go inside the Millennium Falcon. Like, all of that is really cool. So he loved that. Like the ride, that ride itself is kind of like, it's a fun ride. If you've never done it before, it's worth doing. You know what I mean? So it was like, okay, we'll go do this with him. And so we did that. We got a what is it? A Rontor wrap? What is it?
I can't remember. Rontor wrap. Those things are awesome. Yeah. The breakfast one's better, but Rontor, any kind, is good.
100%. Killer. So good. So we got one of those, and then as soon as that was over, I think that we were just making our lightning lanes, as we were using them, we were just making the next one. So I think that after that we did Toy Story Mania, and then after Toy Story Mania we did Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is one of my favorite rides, maybe my favorite ride at Disney currently. It's kind of a toss up between that and another one, but rode that, had a lot of fun there, and then went from Hollywood Studios over to Epcot. And Epcot.
Wait, hang on 1 second though. So Rise never did happen?
No. It was down. It was down the whole day.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
There was something wrong there. No, but that's a shame. But okay, what, you guys are both big Star Wars fans, but did he find Galaxy's Edge as a whole, like, the environmental experience of it with the sound. Like I said, we talked sounds earlier because you hear the starships going above you, and you got the whole characters walking around, stormtroopers and so forth. I mean, was it as a whole? I hate though that the premiere experience was down for you. What do you think?
Yeah, it is kind of a bummer. So, this might be I'll air quotes controversial, whatever, for for some folks, but Brett and I both are not super fans of the sequel trilogy and kind of the direction that Star Wars has gone. So it's one of those things. It's like everything for the most part feels Star Wars ish anyway, in that segment of the park to us. I going for the first time, it's really cool because your experience. It's like this thing that's you kind of dreamed about as a kid. I remember as a kid going to Disney World. The Star Wars at Disney was just Star Tours. Oh, we did Star Tours. I forgot. How could I forget Star Tours? He liked that better than Smuggler's Run. Just to, I guess, give you some perspective on his thoughts.
Real quick though, and you mentioned it's Smuggler's Run to me. I think what's cool is the queue, and I think when 100%. You initially go in the cockpit is awesome. I'm not big on the attraction once it starts going. I think that it's more like banging around and, like I can't figure, even when I'm the pilot, like I don't know how much control I have over everything. Like it just kind of makes me nauseous. Right. But that's like when you actually, like when they open the door and you're walking in, like, holy, I'm walking 100%. Into the Millennium Falcon. Like I want to take a quick picture. Like I'm on the flight deck of the Millennium Falcon. And also like you said, the first time you go into Galaxy's Edge, the reveal of, there is a full-scale Millennium Falcon, like in the flesh. Like I almost cried the first time I saw it when I went down. I was like, oh my God.
All of that was a big hit. He was big on all of that, and I did forget also because this was back in April, so I'm like recalling all of this as we're talking about it in real time. But we did get to see, and we hadn't gotten to see this yet. None of us had. Even my buddy that lives in Orlando hadn't gotten to see Mando walk around yet with Grogu. So we got to see that, which was really cool. It was fun to see him. We did get to see Kylo Ren as well, which is my favorite character from the sequel trilogy. So that, like, all that was fun. Brett enjoyed all of those things. It's overall, like, he was just like, I think the level of attention to detail was not something he was necessarily ready for. We live in Atlanta, so our theme park is Six Flags Over Georgia, which leaves a lot to be desired, to put it mildly. So it's one of those things where when you don't do this often, you kind of it does really blow you away. And I don't think that I'd be putting words in his mouth to say that he had a really, really fun time going through Galaxy's Edge for the first time. And like I said, it kind of works to our advantage because now we have him on the hook to go again at some point in the near future when we are all able to go again, because we need to get on Rise of the Resistance. I was like, dude, that is the best ride in Hollywood studios to me. Well, I'm nostalgic for Tower of Terror also, but it's, that ride is really stinking good. I mean, every aspect of it, when it's running correctly, it's awesome
because it's so multifaceted. Like is it this, is it that, and it's it's so long. I agree. So I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I was wondering because it's you guys. I mean, you have Star Wars tattoos, man. You're in deeper than me, and I have something on the soundboard. So there you go. So I had to get your take. All right, so you guys hopped over to Epcot. So let's. You're finally an adult, right? You're an adult now, so mom can't tell you, hey, man, this is the park for adults. You can't go here. We're just going to stay at the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, that's right. So it was Flower and Garden at this point. So they had stands up everywhere, and we were all just enjoying sampling food from everywhere. And I learned something this trip, by the way, about those carts. They get you because they're like, all right, it's like $7 at every cart that you go to. And you're like, oh, it's so cheap for Disney food. And then you keep going to them.
Yeah, till like you keep going 12 times. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So then, $70 later, you're like, oh, hang on.
I could have gone to Chefs de France and had a steak.
Yeah. But it was one of those days too where it was just like we all went in understanding, okay, this is a splurge day. We're just like, it doesn't matter. All bets are off. We're getting every we're getting every lightning lane we possibly can. Like we're doing all this stuff, right? So yeah, and we had told Brett that Guardians was a really fun ride. We left it at that. I didn't tell him anything else. We're also Marvel fans. I have a whole Marvel sleeve on my leg. So again, yeah, we're big nerds. Love it. So anyways, I can't remember which ride we did first. Man, gosh, that's gonna mess me up a little bit. But I do know that we did. Let's see, we didn't get on Ratatouille. The line was a little bit preposterous. It was like it kind of stayed at 80 minutes consistently, and so did Frozen. So I think that we forewent those two. We got on Soarin', we got on The Land. Brett hated The Land, which I told him was a cardinal sin.
Oh my gosh, Brett! I liked Brett up until 40 minutes into the show. Brett, my guy, what's up? Can't like you,
dude. We got off the ride. So I actually, this trip, I vlogged the whole thing. It's on my channel. And there's a great clip in there when we get off The Land, and I asked Brett what he thinks about The Land, and then he tells me, and it's a very just blunt response. And then our buddy Robert, who again, up to just a couple months ago, would go like twice a month most months, was just looked at him and was extremely upset with him over his over his response. Not actually, in the way that best friends are growing up, but at any rate, it was one of those deals where we tried to explain, like, hey, this is the, like, when you need a break, this is the ride that you ride to.
It's a floating bench with like ambient music and a slight breeze and tropical, nice, in the wintertime you're in a greenhouse. What's there not to like? You can take a nap if you need to. I mean, come on now.
Well, so he did, and that's what I tried to explain that to him too. I was like, hey Brett, you actually fell asleep on this ride. I'm going to reject your opinion because you didn't experience the whole thing. I think, to be honest with you, I think that I'm a bit spoiled with that ride, because the first time I went on it was at Christmas time last year, and I got to see it in like its full glory.
That's awesome.
It's so that's the best way to see that ride, no doubt. But it is one of those things where there was bound to be one that he didn't enjoy. So it's unfortunate that that's the one, but
yeah, Brett, when you're around big time Disney fans, keep that one quiet. They'll come at you. But
that's right.
Apparently Brett's a big dude, so he'll hold his own. It's cool. He's good.
Yeah, he is.
Go ahead.
We did get on once we got on Guardians. We had a fast pass for that as well. So once we got on that and rode it, when we were getting off of that one too, I looked at him and I was like, so what'd you think about that one? And it was the same thing as Avatar, but dialed up like 3 or 4 notches more. And he was like, that's the greatest thing besides getting married that I've ever done.
Oh my God.
And I was like, whoa, that's pretty high praise.
Yeah, it is.
for that ride. But it is such a good ride. It's just so well done. I always tell people it's just like a way better Space Mountain. But it's just so solid. Yeah, and I think, man, I could be leaving one out in Epcot, but I don't think I am. I think that we did the Grand Fiesta Tour as well. There's just any of those dark rides that I could get him on. I was like, we've got to do all the dark rides. So
did you guys do Spaceship Earth? No,
we did not do Spaceship Earth.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, this is the.
He wouldn't have liked it. He wouldn't have liked it. It's a classic. I mean, in Epcot, he'd have hated it. He'd have fallen asleep and he'd have been asleep by the guy pounding the papyrus. He'd have.
Yeah. No kidding. No kidding. Especially it's dark in that one too, so it's even more conducive to a nap if you're beat and worn out. But yeah, we that is the hazard. It was like, okay, we're having to pick and choose, like from our favorites. Just the best, trying to get him as good of a sampler as we possibly can, since we're doing all 4 parks, and we debated that heavily going in. Truthfully, it was like, okay, are we actually going to go for this, or are we going to maybe do like 3 and try and get most things done at all 3? And we landed on the one that always gets cut for me is Animal Kingdom, just because it's a lot of walking. So
Yep.
and there's not as much to do. There's a lot to see. There's not as much to do outside. Because I would have loved to have gotten him on Expedition Everest too, but the time I was just like, okay, if we want to try and get on Rise, we didn't know that it was gonna be broken down. But I was like, if we're gonna aim for that, let's only do a couple things here and then move on. So at any rate, we at that point we moved from Epcot to Magic Kingdom and figured that we would just finish out the day that way. And we marathon Magic Kingdom. We did a lot there.
So what time about was it when you got to Magic Kingdom? Do you guys remember? It was like dinner time or after
yeah,
dinner?
it was right after dinner actually. I think we went to oh man, what's the, I can't remember the name of the Chinese place in Epcot. That's where we ate dinner.
Was it the Nine Dragons? The sit down place? Yep.
Yes, Nine Dragons. So we ate at Nine Dragons for dinner. And then I think it was right after dinner that we left and went over to Magic Kingdom. So we had just done that. And we had hyped up, the rain had held off all day, and we had hyped up the cheeseburger spring rolls and the pizza spring rolls in Magic Kingdom, and we were like, hey, we're gonna get these things too. And then it started pouring down rain as soon as we got to Magic Kingdom, and it was like, well, okay, I guess we're not getting these today. But thankfully it only lasted for a little bit, but they actually didn't open the cart back up. So at any rate, we went to we did Pirates first, then I think we did Mansion almost right after that. We did Peter Pan, we did It's a Small World. Man, I'm trying. Yeah, we hit most things. We did Space Mountain, we did Big Thunder. Big Thunder was the second to last one we did, and then we did let's see, we did Space Ranger Spin, and I think we closed it with People Mover.
I'll say you had to have People Mover. It's living with the land, but no water and greenhouse.
Yeah. We did. I think everyone at that point was so fried that it was like, okay, we just need to do something where we're gonna sit down. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think we got on Winnie the Pooh. We didn't do the Mine Train. And I don't think
Did you guys
that
get
we
Jungle
had a lightning
Cruise?
lane. Sorry?
Did you guys get Jungle Cruise? Because that one could be a long line, but it is a cool experience. But it's a tough one because it's a long ask for a time.
It is. We were the constant fight was just trying to figure out with our lightning lanes what we were able to do with Genie Plus. So we were just anything that we could hit that we felt was worth hitting. We were just, as soon as we finish one thing, we're just booking the next one. And that's always one that gets backed up in the queue.
Always.
So yeah, so I really wanted to get that one done, but again, it was one of those, it's like, okay, this is one of the big ones that we're gonna miss this time that we'll get to go on next time. So yeah. So we kind of did fireworks adjacent. We kind of we got like a frozen Coke and a pretzel or a churro. I can't remember what we got. It doesn't matter. But we kind of watched fireworks that way adjacently, and like I said, I think we finished the evening on. I think it was we either finished it on People Mover or we finished it on Space Ranger Spin. I can't remember which one, but regardless, got a lot done. Yeah.
But I mean, right there, we've been talking for, a good half hour on the trip there, and it was 2 days, weekend, and you got to see so many good resorts, visit a lounge, have a great Disney experience. All 4 theme parks. You really did kind of hit the best of the best in the, all 4 theme parks. Of course, you miss things here and there, but you can't do everything in a day. But the whole point of this is how many times are we cracking up about, memories that you made, stories with buds, and that's what it boils down to on any Disney trip, whether it's 14 days or a quick weekend trip, is the memories you make, right? And you'll be talking about these with your wife and your buds. That's why I love having our show, really, honestly, is because I get to get on here and, I got to, I don't know your friends. We just met when we started this broadcast here tonight, but now I got to sit here and I was honestly just picturing this right in my head as going around all these parks with you. And I mean, your crazy friend, and I still can't believe he doesn't like living with the land. I'm going to have to catch up with him, but I mean, but it is really about just making the memories, no matter how long, how short the trip is.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? I can't believe that I forgot this, but I forgot a key piece of that Magic Kingdom experience. My wife had one request on the trip, and I didn't forget. I'm saying it now. She's probably going to listen to this, so I did not forget this. All right, so she really wanted to do Enchanted Tales with Belle. We knew at the time that our baby was going to be a girl, so it was like, all right, we have a boy, so we're going to be bringing a girl to this experience at some point in the next few years, and this is the unofficial inaugural Meet Belle experience. So that one's always fun to me. I think that there are some crazy cool animatronics going through that experience. So we kind of couched it as that for Brett going into this. And the mirror does the door thing, walk through the door, and then the wardrobe starts picking people to be in the play.
I'm always the same person every time, because I'm a girl dad, right? So I've been on that thing a million times, and I'm always I know what you're gonna say. Right.
Yes. Well, so it's one. It's really funny because we had no children with us. It's just there are 5 adults that are in this room, and my buddy Robert, who has been at Disney quite a bit. I actually don't know if he had ever done that particular experience before, or if this was his first time. He could probably tell me after this is over. But regardless, the lady, the cast member came up to him with the suit of armor.
Yep.
And he disassociated immediely and was looking like over into a corner, and she gets right up to him and is like, hey, no, you get to be a suit of armor. And he like begrudgingly takes it and is like, oh man, I'm just like, he's smoked from the day, just like, I can't believe that I have to do this right now. And gets up there and is dancing with his suit of armor and being a good sport about it. But I have a great video of him doing that, and all of us dying laughing because we're all beat by this point in the day. And Robert is not unhappy, but you can tell he's like, oh, I would rather be doing what you guys were doing and not be up here with.
Could I be camera operator number 3, please, instead of suit? Knight in shining armor number 2. Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
But I have like so many pictures of me holding that, and like the only difference you can tell is like what kind of cargo shorts I have on, because I'm typical Midwestern dad. Just standing there like. Well, that's me, but it's so the same, piece of cardboard in front of my face, and that's just, 7 times, but that's
great.
When you're 6'3", you get nailed with that every single time you go in. But again, it's the stories. I love that. That's so, you got to be careful. That attraction and Monsters Inc. laugh floor. I mean, dude, when you walk in, you're bait. I mean, you're getting nailed.
Yeah, we did the laugh floor too. As soon as you said that, I forgot. Yeah, I'm telling you, we got a lot in. I did forget that we did do the laugh floor. That was fun as well. So, yeah, always a good time. They will get you though on that one. Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing is, you can't be uptight when you're on a Disney vacation, right? You're on vacation and just cut loose. You're not going to see those people ever again for the most part.
No,
I mean,
roll with
if
it.
you do, who
It's
cares?
fun.
Yeah.
You're
My
there having
wife
a good time.
horrifies her. It's like, I'm an idiot all the time. I do it on the internet, all the time.
Man, yeah. It's nice. It's always nice, especially on the laugh floor, when it's just, especially if you do go with friends and you have your very like common digs that you poke and prod at each other with, and then someone else kind of vindicates you. And that's like, talking as one of the monsters and like says something that's along those same lines. And you're like, see, that like we're all on the same page here. It's not just us. It's actually everyone else too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so true. Well, John, hey, this has been a fun show today. What a great way to start another week here to kick off December. Thank you for taking the time. Where can people, because you mentioned you have a YouTube channel, where can people check out everything that you have going on?
Yeah, sure. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok as Cine Park Rangers. We talk all things movies and theme parks. I've been slow to post here lately with the new baby, but yeah, it's CinePark, all one word, and then Rangers. So yeah, you can go find some more fun Disney stuff, Universal stuff, whatever, movies, all those sorts of things.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to start the week with us, and congratulations on the addition to the family.
Appreciate it.
All right. Don't forget, our show is always brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you get to the Disney destinations here as we close out 2024 and for that 2025 trip. And we're even booking cruises into 2026. We have some amazing Disney Cruise Line ships. Have you seen the Treasure? I get to sail her in 2 weeks, and we'll be broadcasting some live video from the cruise. So make sure you follow me on the social media at Be Our Guest Mike. But we want to get you set up for that great Disney vacation over at the Magic for Less. Check out all the details today. No cost to you for all of our services. Check it out today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online this holiday season. It's one extra click. Costs you nothing extra. Just bookmark it right there in your browser, and it does help us out so very much. Just please use that. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you so very much to our Patreon supporters. You guys make all this possible. Couldn't do it without you. Just $5 a month, and you get a bonus show every week. It's called Mike in the Midwest. We have a good time on that one. Coming over this week, we'd love to have you. Patreon.com/BeOurGuestPodcast. We also have a fun clubhouse. It's our Discord server. It's for everybody. First, it was just going to be for our Patreon supporters, but we opened it up for everybody. We have a good time there, 24/7, 365, talking Disney, talking just sports, life, everything in general. There's a channel for everything. Coming over and join us there. It's beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. And we'll have our live call-in show this Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. 5 locations: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. Tune in, give us a call. Let's talk Disney, you, me, and I think Scotty G will be back from Walt Disney World because he was hanging out at the cabins down at Walt Disney World and driving around in his golf cart. So we'll have to hear how he did. All right, we're going to jump out of here and wish you a great Monday and an awesome week. And we'll be back again on Wednesday with more of your listener questions. So for John in the ATL, I'm Mike here in the STL. We'll see you soon. So stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.
You've been listening to the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. If you have questions, comments, or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit our website at beourguestpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you real soon.